150 years ago called daily life. No electrical power, no refrigerators, no internet, no computers, no TV, no hyperactive law enforcement, and no Safeway or Walmart. They got things done, or else we wouldn't be here. In this short video, I will unearth the long-forgotten secret that helped our ancestors survive famines, wars, economic crises, diseases, droughts, and anything else life threw at them. A secret that will help you do the same for your loved ones when America crumbles into the ground. I'm also going to share with you 3 pioneer lessons that will ensure your children will be well fed when others are rummaging through garbage bins. In fact, these 3 old teachings will improve your life immediately once you hear them. My name is Claude Davis, and I've been prepping for over 30 years now. I've tried all the survival equipment you can possibly think of. I deeply felt that it's my duty as a husband and father to protect my family from what's going to unfold in this country. And I also felt that it's my duty as an American to help other co-nationals do the same for their families. So 2 years ago, I started my website, askaprepper.com, where absolutely anyone can ask me anything about prepping and protecting their families. So far, I've helped over 2,000 patriots with whatever advice they needed, free of charge. And here's why that's funny. Even though I fought in the Gulf and even nastier places like Sierra Leone, some of the best stuff I learned about survival was not from the military, but from my grandparents. They raised me in an old-fashioned way as we tried to do the best we could with whatever we had. When I came home from school, I'd be fed soup made using the previous day's leftovers and bones the butcher was throwing out. It was the best soup I'd ever tasted. My grandparents were not only from a different age, but also from a different philosophy. The make do or mend attitude they had made them tough survivors and the best teachers anyone could have. These 3 survival lessons that I'm about to share with you are their legacy, not only to me, but to the shallow world in which we live today. Now pay close attention because this video will change your life for the good. Lesson number 1. Americans started taking everything for granted. My grandfather came to America from Ukraine just before World War II and started working a small farm in Texas. But before that, when he was only 12 and still in Ukraine, he survived a horrific famine. Out of the 100 families that lived on his street, only 20 people lived to tell the tale. Now, what you're about to hear is a real recollection, as it was written in a personal journal just after the crisis by one of his neighbors. Where did all the bread disappear? I do not really know. Maybe they've taken it all abroad. The authorities have confiscated it, removed it from the villages, loaded grain into the railway coaches, and took it away someplace. They've searched the houses and taken away everything to the smallest thing. All the vegetable gardens, all the cellars were raked out, and everything was taken away. We tried to survive the best we could. We collected grass, goosefoot, burdocks, rotten potatoes, and made pancakes and soups from putrid beans or nettles. Collected glay from the trees and ate it. Ate sparrows, pigeons, cats, and dogs. When there was still cattle, it was eaten first, then the domestic animals. Some were even eating their own children. I would never be able to eat my child. One of our neighbors came home when her husband, suffering from severe starvation, ate their own baby daughter. This woman went crazy. Another neighbor wrote a petition to the authorities. Here's just a paragraph from that. Please return the grain that you've confiscated from me. If you don't return it, I'll die. I'm 78 years old and I'm incapable of searching for food by myself. Of course, nobody cared. In a crisis, it's everyone for himself. Although in many cases, families did still remain families just after the winter, when there was absolutely nothing to eat. My grandfather, together with his mother, went to the nearest town where the government had established a soup kitchen. Unfortunately, the 25-mile-long journey was too much for his mother, and after just 5 miles, she couldn't walk anymore. My grandfather noted this in his journal. My mother said, "Save yourself, run to town." I turned back twice, and I couldn't bear to leave my mother, but she begged and cried, and I finally went for good. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm a father myself, and when I read these things, I burst into tears. Now, please allow me to play psychic here for a second and tell you a few things about yourself. Your life's not perfect, but at least you have a computer or a laptop to watch this video on. Your fridge is probably half full, and while you have your problems, starvation is not one of them. And even though your job or retirement could be more enjoyable, you probably have enough money to at least get by. And that's great, but make no mistake taking this for granted. History has shown us many times that it can all fly away in a split second. The biggest misstep that you can take now is to think that this can never happen in America or to you. All that my grandfather and our ancestors who came here and formed America lived through would be in vain without lesson number 2. Those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it. Now, call me old-fashioned, I don't care, but I completely believe in America and what our ancestors stood for. They all had part in turning this land into one of the most powerful countries in the world. Many died and suffered before a creative mind found an ingenious solution to maybe a century-old problem. Believe it or not, our ancestors' skills are all covered in American blood, and that's why these must be fought for, protected, and handed on for them to do the same for our children and our children's children. But now, my friends, we're sitting on the edge of oblivion. Our fathers and grandfathers were probably the last generation to practice basic things like building a root cellar or making pemmican. Our ancestors laid the bricks and built the world's strongest foundation that we are about to irreversibly forget. And we're going to pay the ultimate price for this. Because if your house is built on sand, it won't matter how good it looks. The next flood will sweep it away. And that's exactly what will happen to most Americans in the coming crisis. Here we are, human beings in the 21st century, several lifetimes and a world away from our grandparents and their ways. Have we become better at living? I think not. I watch as we become ever more expectant that the world owes us a living. Consumerism has reached epic proportions, and people feel aggrieved if they don't own the latest gadget. Now, I'm not one to judge, but let's be practical. In a crisis, if I had to choose between these two guys for my team, it'd be an easy choice. The truth is, we've never been more disconnected from life, from the world, from the soil, from the trees, and from our own souls. We're straying away from our roots on a dangerous road from which there will be no turning back. We no longer know how to live without refrigerators, without cars, without phones, or without supermarkets. What will you do tomorrow if you simply are unable to buy things? I sometimes think we're kidding ourselves with our bug-out bags and with our 3-day food rations. Wouldn't we be better off looking at what the pioneers took with them when they traveled from Independence, Missouri all the way to Oregon City? Game meat was unreliable even then, so don't think that they made this 5-month journey counting on that. If your life depended on this, what bug-out bag would you take with you? I know I'd stick with whatever the pioneer had with him. He had to travel weeks on end without much help while taking cover from native tribes at the same time. And this is just a small, tiny example. I don't want to see our forefathers' knowledge disappear into the darkness of time. And if you care for your family and what America stands for, then neither should you. This is the third and most important lesson of all. It's always up to you. I believe in God and in the power of free will. I believe that you are the only one in charge of your destiny and that you're constantly making decisions that shape the rest of your life. It's true that we all had different starts, depending on our families and upbringing, but most of us here in the United States had at least decent beginnings. We had water and food, we could go shopping from time to time, and we had a decent medical system compared with other countries. We should be more thankful for that, and we should ensure that we have something put aside for darker times. If anything goes wrong with this country, don't blame the government or the president. They don't truly care about you or your family. I don't know if you've noticed this, but nothing just falls from the sky. God helps you, but He does not lay it on your table. You have to work hard and do things yourself. As long as you're aware of this, your destiny rests solely on you and your willpower. how you truly can change things, and you can do it a lot more than you probably think you can. With this idea in mind, 5 years ago, I wanted to do something that hasn't been done before. Something that not only would help me survive a crisis without investing a fortune in stockpiles, but something that I could do around my house on a daily basis using only methods that were tested and proven by our forefathers for centuries. I wanted to unearth and learn the forgotten ways of our great-grandparents. I went to my grandfather to find out how he survived and to learn the little secrets that helped him survive in spite of almost everyone else dying. He was now almost 90, but the old man was still in good shape. For 3 weeks on end, I absorbed his lessons like a dry sponge. On top of that, we built a lot of things together, including a root cellar and a storm shelter, just like the folks did when he was young. We made lard and ham. We smoked 4 turkeys and preserved them for winter in 4 different traditional ways, and a lot more. And when I was a child, I was raised by my grandparents, but I hadn't spent such quality time with him until then. In fact, there were months when we barely even spoke, not because we couldn't stand each other, but because I was always too busy working or taking care of my kids. A lame excuse and a thing that I deeply regretted later on in life. But my grandfather passed on a couple of years ago, and with him a magnificent amount of survival knowledge. Now, I don't know if you're in a similar situation, but think about your grandfather and how many things he did or knew, things that will vanish forever into the dark abyss of ignorance. And because I deeply believed in Lesson 3, that I was the only one who could change something, my goal for the last couple of years changed from not just learning, but saving our forefathers' ways. This is one of the most important things that I've done in my entire life, and I'm proud of it, but it took me 5 difficult years to do it. Well, first, there's no person that knows all our forefathers' forgotten secrets. Let's just say that there are still a handful of people that still practice a lost skill transmitted from generation to generation, even today. But not all the skills, of course. I had to get in touch with a lot of people. Second, where do you find these guys? They are no mainstream survival experts. They don't have a website or a TV show. Some of them even live in remote areas without internet or TV cable, earning a living like the pioneers did. And third, I wanted to do something unprecedented. You know, articles like 11 skills your grandparents had that you don't. And they start listing the skills: hunting, fishing, foraging, butchering, and so on. Well, this kind of information will never help anyone. I needed something solid, exact, and to the point, not just skills. I wanted to know things that they actually built, ate, and stored, and exactly how they did it. And fourth, I'm not sitting on a gold mine. As much as I enjoyed traveling and learning these skills, I still needed to go to work. But what I didn't realize when I started my quest is that you can't save these skills only by writing them down. If all these writings will be forgotten in a dusty drawer right next to my bed, that won't help anyone. This knowledge will die together with me, and all my efforts to save our forefathers' ways would have been in vain. This is because all my life I blindly believed in Lesson 3, that it's always up to me. But I was wrong. In this case, it's only halfway there. It's also up to you. Today is your chance to be part of saving our ancestors' lost ways. I wanted to make this information available to every family out there without having to spend years of their lives or thousands of dollars. So I came up with this great idea to edit all my manuscripts and to turn all this lost knowledge into one of the greatest books of this century. It's called The Lost Ways, Saving Our Forefathers' Skills. Now, as you can see, I designed and edited the book in an old-fashioned way, but most of it is not written by me personally, because I didn't want people to read a second account. I'm sure a lot of information would have been lost in this process. You know, those little secrets that make a thing really work, those little things that make a big difference. So I paid these experts for their time, and I got what I wanted. These people are not professional writers, but instead are uniquely special. They're neither the strong, badass type that you see in Rambo movies, nor the ultra-rich preppers from reality shows. They're just simple people who know a lost skill very well. They're smart, shrewd, and wise enough to survive for months or even years in the world's most remote places. Here's just a glimpse of what you'll find in The Lost Ways. Native American Eric Bainbridge, who took part in the reconstruction of the native village of Culoclo in California, will show you how Native Americans built the subterranean roundhouse, an underground house that today will serve you as a storm shelter, a perfectly camouflaged hideout, or a bunker. It can easily shelter 3 to 4 families. So how will you feel if, when all hell breaks loose, you'll be able to call all your loved ones and offer them guidance and shelter? Besides that, the subterranean roundhouse makes an awesome root cellar where you can keep all of your food and water reserves year-round. Patrick Shelley, who earned a living in the woods for years on end, will show you how to make foolproof traps. He wrote an awesome chapter about how to trap different animals in winter just like our forefathers did. When 100 hungry mouths will shoot each other over the last deer to feed their children, your family can eat the favorite food of trappers and mountain men from the 1800s. From Shannon Azares, you'll learn how sailors from the 18th century preserved water in their ships for months on end, even years, and how you can use this method to preserve clean water for your family cost-free. Mike Searson, who's a firearm and Old West history expert, will show you what to do when there's no more ammo to be had, how people who wandered the West managed to hunt 8 deer with 6 bullets, and why their supply of ammo never ran out. Remember the panic buying in the first half of 2013? Well, that was nothing compared to what's going to precede the collapse. From Susan Morrow, an ex-science teacher and chemist, you'll master the art of poultice. As she says, if you really explore the ingredients from which our forefathers made poultices, you'll be totally surprised by the similarities with modern medicines. Well, how would you feel in a crisis to be the only one from the group knowledgeable about this lost skill? When there are no more antibiotics, people will turn to you to save their ill children's lives. Lex Rooker will show you how to make a superfood with basic ingredients that you can find in any Walmart. Now, this amazing food was invented and largely used by Native American scouts, as well as early Western explorers who were on their own for months at a time. This nutritious food was light, compact, and high in protein, carbohydrates, and vitamins, and if done properly, it can last anyone from a few years up to a lifetime without refrigeration. In fact, if you have this food, you don't need anything else, because a person could subsist entirely on this food, drawing from the fat for energy, the protein for strength, and the vitamins for health. But really, this has all just been a peek. The Lost Ways is a far-reaching book with chapters ranging from simple things like making tasty bark bread, like people did when there was no food, to building a traditional backyard smokehouse, and many, many, many more things. And believe it or not, this isn't all. If you get The Lost Ways right now, you'll also receive 2 exclusive reports that will be off the table soon. There's an old saying that our great-grandparents used to know. Once in life you need a doctor, a lawyer, a policeman, and a preacher. But every day, 3 times a day, you need a farmer. So the first report you'll get is what every survivalist should grow in his backyard. This special report contains the most nutritious and toughest plants that you should start growing so you'll never run out of food. Now, these plants are reliable in the worst possible conditions, including drought, flooding, or light deprivation. And you'll also find instructions on how to plant, grow, harvest, and store them. Now, another old saying that people used to say is, for every minute you spend organizing, an hour is earned. So the second report that you'll get is a step-by-step guide to building your own can rotation system that can hold at least 700 cans of different sizes. You'll never have to look at 50 cans for expiration dates, and you'll never need to throw away cans again because they've spoiled. A can rotator is not only a time saver but also a money saver. As you can see in this video, the mechanism is very simple. Whenever you buy new cans, you insert them into the upper shelf. The cans will automatically roll down and they'll be the last in the row. When you pick them up, you do so from the shelf below, so you'll always pick the can that you brought first and therefore with the closest expiration date. Cool and efficient, and the one that you've just seen in this video I built with only $95. That's pretty cheap if you think that a similar rotator costs $420 on Amazon and only holds about 450 cans. And theirs aren't even that cool. Now, once you have the plans and the step-by-step guide with pictures, all it takes is just 1 day of work, even less. So, if you choose to save a copy of The Lost Ways now, you'll also get these 2 bonuses that are worth $29 each for free, and unlimited access to the members area, where you can ask me anything at any time. I'll be there to answer your questions and to help you if you need any clarification on anything. By knowing the ways of our forefathers, believe it or not, you're covered for anything. You'll never have to spend money on any prepping material again. Forget about unreliable and expensive modern survival equipment. Why even bother reinventing the wheel when these things have been working right for centuries? The Lost Ways prepares you to deal with worst-case scenarios with the minimum amount of resources, just like our forefathers lived their lives, totally independent from electricity, cars, or modern technology whatsoever, which means you'll also be bulletproof against the ever-increasing threat of an electromagnetic pulse, a powerful economic breakdown, famines, and natural disasters. You'll have the power to protect and save your family, even to rebuild your community during the worst times. And the best part is that you don't need to wait for a disaster to happen. The Lost Ways will help you save hundreds of dollars every month starting from day 1. You'll save money on groceries, on electricity, on medicine, on ammo, and more. Self-reliance will save you thousands of dollars every year while making you stronger, tougher, healthier, and wiser. This is the best gift that you can give to your sons and daughters. At the same time, you get to take part in doing something great, saving our forefathers' lost skills. Now, I consider that I've done my part, the hardest and costliest part, if I may say so. All you need to do is make sure that you hand this knowledge over when it's time and take full advantage of it until then. I've shown it to some expert preppers and readers of mine, and some of them even said that they would easily pay $1,000 just to learn these skills alone. I even thought of creating a weekend workshop and charging at least $500 for a seat to that. There are people who do that. But I realized that this would be wrong, because only a handful of people will actually learn the lost ways, while my main focus is not to get rich, but to save these skills by spreading this knowledge to other people just like me. So remember when a man's word was his bond? When you made an agreement and you just shook on it? You didn't need anything more. And frankly, I'd like to do things the old-fashioned way, on a handshake. So today, you can shake my hand and seal the deal for a price that anyone can afford. While this video is still up, you can get The Lost Ways plus the 2 bonuses for a one-time special offer of just $37. Now, the only way to get it is to click the Add to Cart button below now. Don't let this knowledge disappear into the darkness of time, because in the next crisis, when death will stare you in the eye, this is the only time-tested life vest that you and your family can hang on to. You'll stay calm and protected when others will scavenge through the garbage for food. When there's no electricity and your neighbors are forced to cook all the meat that they have in their fridges, you'll know the secrets to store it so your family won't starve next week. Heck, in fact, even now, yes, right now, if you get The Lost Ways, go to page 39 and start making just one of the super nutritious foods that can last a few years without refrigeration. And I'm not talking about honey or vinegar. I'm talking about real food here. And when others start begging for a glass of fresh water, you'll be the only one in the neighborhood able to spare one. Or even a glass of beer or ginger beer, just like our forefathers made when the drinking water was contaminated. Go to page 301 and start building your own old-style backyard smokehouse to preserve your own meat, sausages, and fish using your own spices. And when the dollar becomes useless and all hell breaks loose, you won't care, because you won't need money at all. All you'll need to survive is The Lost Ways. Nothing more. If our ancestors survived the hardest times using only this knowledge, then so will you. Everyone will turn to you for guidance. Everyone will try to barter with you. Everyone will want to use your tools and your knowledge. This is the amazing power our great-grandparents had, and it's all captured, jam-packed, and readily available for you in The Lost Ways. Now, you won't find this anywhere else, and there's no way to tell how much longer this presentation is going to be up, so click the Add to Cart button below to secure your copy now. In keeping with the spirit of those simpler days, today, you can take advantage of my handshake guarantee. Because I always put my money where my mouth is. I'm willing to take all the risk on this one. So click on the button below, go to The Lost Ways, and when you're done, you'll have to be 100% thrilled and happy with this deal. If for any reason at all you want to get your money back, you will get it within 24 hours from the moment you send us the request. You don't even have to answer any questions. Just simply send me a quick email located in the members area in the next 60 days and ask for a refund. That's right, you have 2 months to test drive The Lost Ways and the bonuses, and that's my handshake guarantee to you. Now, you may think that I'm going way out on a limb by offering such a strong guarantee, but I'm not really. I'm only backing up a thing that I strongly believe in, and when you deliver what you promise, I think there's nothing to worry about. So, is it a deal? I hope so. The way I see it, you have 3 options here. You can hope that things will get better and that a crisis will never strike America. I'm hoping the same thing, you know, but my grandfather taught me better. He taught me, as I've told you, to never take anything for granted. Doesn't it seem better to you to have these skills and never need to use them than to not have them and then one day really need them? Well, we're the last generation that can really do something about that. Soon these old teachings will vanish forever, and we'll be nothing more than a nation full of rabbits. You know, rabbits are nice, but they can't really do anything but run. Run from their fears, run from danger, and run from doing something great in their lives. America should be held in the hands of the people who plant the seeds. I just hope there are enough of us left here. Or you can start spending money and valuable time searching for guys who still know a lost thing or two by going through months of research and lots of traveling. And although it might sound nice in the beginning, these expeditions will take a huge toll on your bank accounts. I've spent 5 years gathering and rounding up this lost knowledge, and I must say that there were lots of times when I just wanted to give up. Or you can save the lost ways without going through all this. I've already done the hard part. This knowledge has already been packed and is readily available to serve you and your children from now on until the end of time. Like this anywhere else. So if you want to literally save the lost ways and to know that your family is secured, to have warmth, food, water, and all the other things that they need, even in the worst possible times, this is the only place where you can get it. Now, my guess is that you haven't experienced a long-time hunger, but you are probably familiar with the feeling of skipping a couple of meals. Not a very pleasant experience. We're not used to thinking about what to eat or how to procure food for our children. Now again, don't take anything for granted just because we're living in good times now. Our grandfathers and great-grandfathers were the last generation to practice the basic things that we call survival skills today. Why try to reinvent what they did, and did very well, for centuries? Instead, we should learn from them, and we should not let their wisdom and knowledge disappear forever. There are only a few moments in life when you can really do something big, and this is one of them. Our grandparents didn't pass these skills on to us in our bloodstream, and neither will you to your children or your nephews. Take advantage of this video while it's still up, and save the lost ways by clicking on the button below. You're the only one that can change something. Are you ready to turn back the clocks to the 1800s for up to 3 years? Because this is what will happen after the next SHTF event. One of my readers, James, replied to this question. Thanks for the book, Claude. I've been looking for something like this for years, and yes, I do believe that some of us are ready to turn back the clock now. And thanks to you, I can truly say that I'm at least one step closer. I can't believe how many things we've lost along the way. This book was an eye-opener for me, and I must admit that there are a lot of things I was doing or thinking in a totally wrongful way. The brilliance of your book is that it offers a proven way to achieve self-sufficiency without investing any money. Heads up for this book. This is by far the best survival advice I've read so far, and I can't wait to start building stuff. James. I've just received this email and it made my day. Now again, here is my handshake deal to you. You'll get the Lost Ways plus what every survivalist should grow in his backyard and a step-by-step guide to building your own can rotation system while also taking advantage of my full handshake money-back guarantee for 60 days and unlimited email access where you'll get to ask me whatever you want, not for $95, but for only $37. This deal simply can't get any better than this. So thank you for watching this video, and I hope we'll meet on my secure encrypted checkout page. Once you've entered your info and submitted that, you'll have immediate access to the Lost Ways and the bonuses. Now click on the button below to secure your spot while this presentation is still up.